What's up? My name is JB. You listen to the Cabbages podcast.
Hello. Gary.
Hi, Jeff. How's it going?
It's good. I think it's pretty good. It might be good. I don't know if it's all that good. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I'm worried, Gary. I have a trouble. I have a
Okay.
trouble in my life.
What troubles you, my
I
child?
I love Serial Mom. That's not the trouble. The trouble is I get the feeling you might not have loved it. What do you think? What do you think of my course correction?
I it's definitely a pivot away from our prior episode on
Horrific, serious drama.
Vietnam drama, racial strife. Dead Presidents was a movie, and we did watch
Yeah.
it. That being
You could
said,
say the same about Serial Mom.
Serial Mom feels less like a movie. Still a movie, but
Okay.
less like a movie than that.
I see.
Tonally, it is so different.
All right, you know what? Here's the thing. I think we should stop there and
Mhm.
save it for the guest. We have a
Okay.
wonderful guest this week
JB, we got JB coming
because
on.
I
It's
don't
great.
want to go into this thing with hurt feelings. And I can already
Yeah.
tell you, you're starting to pierce the veil.
And I don't want to prejudice anything just yet. I think let's get into the conversation. Let's see what our guest had to say about it. And I
Okay.
think that might be a worthwhile use of our time. I am thrilled to introduce our guest for today's show. Joining us now is JB. This Oklahoma City rapper slash activist is perhaps the only Emmy Award winner with co-signs from Chuck D, Murs, and Run the Jewels. His newest album is called The Spirit is Willing, but the Flesh is Weak, and features production by Apollo Brown, Conductor Williams, and Evidence, to name a few. You can grab that on Bandcamp or wherever music is streamed or sold. Hello and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. No doubt. I appreciate that intro too.
Big fans of the record, and we've been listening to it
Huge.
quite a bit in the
I
recent
love it.
weeks. I just put it on again today, doing dishes and just being like, I appreciate, like, I pick up different things each time that I hear, like there's the line about Savion Glover at one point, and I start thinking about
Oh yeah.
Bamboozled, and I'm like, all right, this is a guy I want to talk to about movies with.
No doubt. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
We gave you a short list of films to choose from, which we sometimes do. Sometimes we just assign a film to somebody and say, let's talk about this. But other cases, especially with someone who we haven't really talked to before, we like to kind of feel about kind of what they're. And you came back with, from our short list, you came back with Serial Mom. So
You chose the one that I wanted you to choose so badly.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so excited. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
wanted
it.
Gary to watch this.
you did want that.
I remember watching Serial Mom when I was a kid. So
Had you seen a lot of John Waters stuff, or was like Serial Mom kind of your introduction to that? Or
yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. I probably have.
that's the same director as like Hairspray and Crybaby and Pecker and Pink Flamingos. He did a lot of these like very like transgressive movies in the 70s and into the 80s. And then Hairspray was like his kind of, for lack of a better term, hit. Like they made it into a Broadway musical, and they do that. But like this kind of comes out in the middle of everything, like smacked at 94.
Okay, then no, I haven't seen any of those movies. I just,
Okay.
my whenever we were kids, my mom, she was a single mom, and we would whenever she would go to work on the weekends, we had to stay at my grandma's house, and my auntie lived there with my grandma too, and so she was always watching. She was a movie, what I'm saying, person. So I mean, we was watching that. I remember we watched that all the time. We watched Drop Dead Fred. Like she was always like, putting the movie on when we came over. So that was one of the ones that we used to watch.
How old do you think you were kind of when you first came across this?
Probably like 10 or 11 maybe.
Like this is an R-rated movie, and Drop Dead Friend, while it's not an R-rated movie, is a wild film.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy stuff happens in that movie. So like,
Yeah. What's crazy is like that part where she's in court was even as a kid, like I didn't, like as an adult, I get it more now. But as a kid, I remember thinking, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
The courtroom, the third act, essentially, the
In
courtroom
a,
scene
yeah.
is like pure, unadulterated, weird comedy. And it
yeah,
kind of comes out of nowhere. Like the first two acts are like dead on satire. And then they get
hmm
to the court and they're like, all bets are off, folks. We're
yeah.
just throwing around ideas. Let's just have a time. I love that scene for sure.
I mean, so
And
many weird things happen in that scene too.
They go
yeah,
through an entire murder trial in a day.
yeah.
Just do the whole
Basically,
thing in a day. They're like, all right, everybody gather around. We're going to do a quick murder trial. Okay, let's get out of here
And then she gets off and then kills somebody again.
immediately.
exactly. Like,
Yeah, but also I remember one thing I did remember liking about it was Ricky Lake being in it too.
Yeah, he discovered her in Hairspray
Oh wow,
and
okay.
then brought her to the next thing. I don't know if it was the next thing, but brought her into another project after that.
I
I
think
thought
she's
she was
also,
great at it.
yeah, I think Crybaby was the next one. I think she was also in Crybaby.
Okay.
So yeah, she played a vital role, and obviously we know Ricky Lake from the talk show is kind of the thing where like she
Yeah.
had that
Yeah,
sort of cultural presence where like we saw her. If you were home on a sick day, you might have seen Ricky Lake on TV,
yeah.
or
Sally, Ricky,
you know all
Yeah,
those shows.
I was always home on sick days watching Ricky Lake. So
Yeah,
Ricky
absolutely.
Lake, Jenny Jones,
And then later it turned into the former
Jerry Springer.
politician. Yeah, Jerry Springer. It turned into
Yeah,
Jerry Springer.
yeah.
So it was like,
There's
okay, we're not going to do as many talk shows. We're going to do like either four people will sit around a table and talk leisurely about
hmm
serious issues, or these two people are going to beat the shit out of each other. And I'm like, I'll take
yeah,
the people beating the shit out of each other. I'm 12.
yeah,
Really interests
yeah,
me.
exactly. That's
I'm
way more
into
interesting.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's like you get through like you get to that point and then you eat lunch like around like Price is Right time and then you go on to the next thing,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
afternoons after turn off TV for the soap operas. Back these
We
kids
used to watch.
today.
We called them the stories, but I did watch the stories at 11, Young and the Restless, because
Mhm.
We're still a Young and the Restless family.
yeah. I always tell people all the time, like I was probably raised by Victor Newman, so
Same.
Wow.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Victor Newman was my guy. He's a ruthless businessman, is he not?
yeah,
He's ruthless. I was watching some stories this week, actually. Things are
yeah,
still wild in Genoa City.
yeah, no doubt.
My household was different soaps, so I don't remember what
Were
it.
you a General Hospital
No,
fan?
it was more like it was another one of these. It was I think it's whatever ones were on ABC at the time. I really don't remember. Like my
Mm,
mom would watch these and she taped them. She put them on video cassette and I would see. But if I was homesick, I would see whatever she was going to have on there. 'Cause someone had to stay home with me and take care of me. So there's that. It's like you don't get a sense of too much in terms of in this film of whether or not this is the sort of kind of soap opera watching household, but it does feel on brand for this type of thing, like you're paying attention to these stories. But obviously we find out that this the main character in this movie, spoiler alert, is a serial killer, and is obsessed with serial killers, which is maybe it's a pretty aggressive topic for say a soap opera type thing, but for dark satire is fair game. And i
good.
Mhm.
wanted i wanted to kind of get a sense with this film is in categorizing it. I was trying to figure out, well, what is this film? Is it a satire? Is it black comedy? Is this a horror movie? Like what am I watching here? And I'm kind of wondering, get a sense of like from your perspective, like what did you see this film as kind of coming into this, especially with your history with it?
I saw it as a comedy, because just like usually movies about serial killers, they're it's like it's more like frightening, you know what I mean, and like scary, but all the silly stuff that happens in the movie, it's just it has to be comedy. But yeah, I think I've always thought it was a comedy for sure.
It bridges a lot of gaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm
Like the satire thing is obviously there the whole time. the dark comedy thing is obviously there the whole time. And then it's not a horror movie, I agree, but there's a lot of horror tropes,
Yeah, definitely.
both being portrayed on screens inside the universe and, beating someone to death with a leg of lamb. Or,
Yeah.
like there's a lot going on. Someone was set on fire. There's a lot of like grisly murder. And it doesn't, a poker goes into a guy and like pulls his, I guess, liver. Are we looking at a liver there, you think?
Couldn't
Yeah.
quite tell what bit that was, but I'll take your word on it.
It wasn't a lung, I feel like, whatever. Something came out of the dude. A whole body part came with this tiny poker. So there was obvious like nods to horror films as well. I mean, this thing was all over the map. I
Yeah,
think
that's
sort of that's him.
that's
That's John
yeah.
Waters, is like nothing is off limits.
Yeah, like to
Yeah.
me, like I'm not a big horror person. I'm not a fan of horror movies generally, but like I understood there were a lot of horror films, particularly in the 80s, that played into humor. And that did kind of bleed into the 90s as well. It kind of had humor things. So the kills were funny, some of these films. So like this to me, like I'm sort of seeing like all the kills in this movie are, again, considering everything around it is this absurd comedic stuff. All the kills are funny, despite the fact that they are also, graphic or horrifying in some way. Like, the scene where the guys we just talked about, where that piece comes out of him, like he's stabbed with a fire poker in a public restroom or restroom at a
Yeah.
swap meet.
Mhm.
Like that's a way to go. That's wild. Another guy gets it from an air conditioner
Yeah.
dropped on his head.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
seven
what
people
incredible
die
timing
in this
she
film.
had.
Oh, it's perfect. 7 people die in this movie. I tried briefly to see if I could map it to the 7 sins, and I could not, because it's not that sort
You
of.
did what you could, and
Not
I
there,
appreciate you for it.
But 7 felt like a really interesting number to be
It
exploring
did.
for something like this. I'm like, okay, this is the same. Obviously, this is the same decade as the movie 7 comes out. That
They're also
plays reference
not
out.
they're not religious per se. Like they go to church.
Socially
Mhm.
religious. Socially
Yeah,
religious,
but they don't really like talk about the Bible in this film. There's no sense of like I'm doing this as like a Christian soldier.
Nobody says grace at a table.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the other side of it where like also I'm not doing this because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly in charge of my faculties. These people deserve to die for
But
committing
also,
like
don't you?
weird atrocities.
I feel like that like just that part about just going to church and like, but not saying grace at the table. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that's what I'm saying, churchgoer. You know what I mean? Like, that's just part of, you go to church like you go to, I don't know. It's just part of your day on Sunday. You know what I mean? But it's not real. You know what I mean? We don't really
You
live.
go because, in a way, because your parents went and
Yeah.
they would be disappointed in you.
And then their
So you
parents
keep
went,
the
so
traditions alive. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was, luckily none of my family listened to this thing. But my family was for a while was very like gung ho that we're going to continue the Christian tradition. But as we got older and we were disinterested, my parents were
Mhm.
both less inclined to jump into the church house when we were like, what if we laid around and watched movies? What if we
Yeah.
watched Overboard again instead of going to church?
Yeah, my grandma, she would go to church and take us because we was there on weekends, and I would try to pretend like I was sick so I could stay and watch wrestling.
Excellent. What a move. And I feel
Exactly.
like that part of it, I mean, the movie is so good at nailing these kids. Like I forget Chip. Chip
Oh,
is
yeah.
this like, he's a very good student, and he's like quick, like the teacher said, he's quick to like jump in with answers. He's obviously very bright, but he also has a weird obsession with drawing horrible murders, grisly murders.
Yep.
And I'm
And
like,
horror
that's
movies.
not out of the ordinary for like
Yeah.
weird suburban high school stuff.
Exactly.
It's just not. Like these are normal, very normal people. And the only one that's sort of out of line is the serial killer mother.
Yeah.
'Cause everybody else's transgressions are sort of minor, and hers turn major.
Well, yeah, because they're
Yeah.
they're meant to sort of be public facing. This sort of the nuclear family. You've got
Yeah.
the father is a professional. He's a dentist. The mother is a homemaker.
Yeah.
The son is a good student, but maybe likes some gory movies. And the
Yeah.
daughter is Ricky Lake's character, like
Oh,
is
boy
Misty.
crazy.
It's just boy crazy. Like these are all just like these are
Yeah.
tropes that all just kind of stuffed into the same situation. And
And
I
they're
think
all the like perfect age for it. And
Yeah.
like Sam Watterson is this button down conservative dentist,
yeah,
and is like, my family never does anything wrong. Everyone's perfect. It's just like, I thought was like beautifully done
Yeah.
to be both extremely campy and like pretty realistic.
Yeah, I agree. And then one of my favorite parts is whenever she's on the phone with the lady. I can't remember what she called. Anyway,
The big
With Dottie
reveal
Hin-
that she's
Dottie Hinkle.
Dottie
Dottie
Hinkle.
Hinkle.
yeah.
I love the big reveal that she's the one because like Kathleen Turner delivers this with such aplomb.
Yeah.
She's just like screaming the word cocksucker and like dying laughing
Yeah.
Is this the
internally. Like she can't
cocksucker
laugh over the
residence?
phone. And then by the end of it is just like openly laughing at her reactions, at Dottie's reactions. And
That's like one of my favorite
it's
parts.
such a perfect reveal of her being batshit crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great because like the thing is, I like the fact that this film doesn't make us wait. Like you
Yeah.
get about 3 minutes of title cards, opening credits, and then you get to the house exterior. But like after that, it's just go. You just from jump. And within a few minutes
Even in
of
the first
meeting,
conversation,
Yeah.
she says, they're like, oh, this guy, this serial killer got
the
a
Hillside
degree.
Strangler.
Yeah. Got a degree
Yeah.
in jail. She's like, oh, that's lovely. And they're like, no, he's bad. And she goes, oh, we all have our bad days. And they're like, he murdered X amount of people. And she's like, we all have our bad days. That's just such a good joke and sets it up perfectly. Like we're not playing around. This person's about to go crazy.
Yeah.
It's on.
Being a film of its time, as opposed and looking at it from the lens of 2024. At that time, this idea that a middle-aged housewife would be interested in serial killers and be obsessed with serial killers feels anomalous. But as we know today, so much content, television, podcasts are being made about true crime, serial killing. Like basically, if you open your Max app right now, all the Discovery Channel content that's in there, that's all murder documentaries. And there's a lot of stuff that's like targeted. These films, these TV series, these podcasts are targeted towards women. So it's sort of like there's been this explosion of this as sort of a cultural thing that is accepted. So like it's sort of looking at these lenses, it dulls the fact that she has all these interests, but it does feel right that she has to hide them. The fact that she has like audio recordings of Ted Bundy under her bed. These clippings are all under the bed. Whereas now people can be much more out in the open.
Or like bird books with her, like she's like tracing the line of Charles Manson's face.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Charlie. Like she's supposed to be reading about birds, like, oh, Charlie. It's so good.
I don't think back then when I first saw it that I even picked up that she was obsessed with serial killers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. The books
because I'm not
they
even sure if I
find
would have known.
as well.
Yeah. So, but
I also love her first interaction early with the cops.
I'm trying to remember now.
Like
when they show
pretty
up
much
about the prank calls. When they show up about the prank calls.
Oh yeah.
The first one where they show up and they hand her the note and she like is just like, it just is totally, oh no, that's terrible. And then later they like sort of catch her with a magazine with a cutout letter.
Yeah.
And she's just like, yeah, man, it's not even my magazine. What do you got? Like she's just done with these dudes the whole time. I love it.
Part of why I like again, I love the pace of the film.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I love the film as a whole. I like the film. I don't love, but like the pace of the film. But shut up. The pacing of this film is great because it's just like she's already being suspected like early on.
Yeah.
And then as she's being suspected, she commits her most heinous crimes.
Yeah.
Because we're led to believe at this stage that she hasn't killed anybody before.
Right.
There's no indication that she is like an experienced murderer. So
it ramps up from the fly. She swats the fly.
Yeah.
And is like really into herself for it.
And just
that's how we know like she wants to kill.
And just to be clear, as it says in the closing in the closing credits of the film, no flies were harmed in the making of the film.
Right.
It's true. The apparently the ASPCA said they could not kill a fly on screen, and so they made a fake one. So it's not actually real. It's not a real thing. But yeah, they sort of set this up, but like now she's going to go on this killing spree, and the fact that she is basically a suspect right away, and within like with less than a day after that, she kills the high school teacher with her car over basically his transgression, because all these have transgressions in her minds, is that she's not supportive of her son. He's not supportive of her son.
The first couple are at the behest of her kids.
Yeah.
She's protecting her son in the first one, and the second one is I forget his name, but Ricky Lake's love interest at the beginning.
Yeah,
he's like a Chad or something.
Carl
like
Pageant.
Carl, yeah, that's it.
Who's the one who gets the poker in the bathroom?
Yeah,
like that's because he stood her daughter up on a date.
So
like
that's later how it starts. Is that it? And then it gets like that person witnessed something. That person was wearing white shoes after Labor Day. Like it just becomes I just like doing this.
The moral outrage, like the justifications change over time.
Yeah, the white after Labor Day was crazy though.
And especially at that happening when it does after she's been acquitted.
After she gets acquitted, yeah,
she's exonerated, and she has to kill somebody right there, like within steps of everyone. Like she doesn't have there's no impulse control, which
right. And it slowly turns into that. It's not like, because even the couple, they're bad mouthing her husband.
Oh, the Sterners, Betty and Ralph Sterner.
The Sterners die because they badmouth her husband at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And she's like, nope, not going to stand for that. Even though I'm here to kill a witness to the crimes, I'm actually just going to go ahead and take care of this couple.
It's so funny to me that that she has no self-control. Like she gets up from the table to go and commit murder. Like gets up from the dinner table to go commit murder. And like everything that we know about serial killers, that we've been taught about serial killers, is that they're these like disciplined, intellectual.
Not at all in this case.
Like they're all like methodical in everything they do. Everything is planned and this. Like that's how movies presented. In this case, it's like this person is just on a spree. This is just a spree.
Yeah, she it's like she don't even care if she gets caught. Like really,
she's actually seems surprised and outraged when she gets caught. Ultimately, after like killing their horny teen friend of her son, good old Scotty, at an L7 concert. It basically it happens in the middle of the day for some reason. Basically, he gets set on fire on stage, and she gets arrested immediately. And she's just like the look of surprise on her face.
What are you doing? Why am I getting arrested?
Yes.
He doesn't wear his seatbelt.
Yeah.
And also witnessed me beating someone to death for not rewinding their videotape, which is like one of two moments that are like painfully pre-cell phone 90s. One, that there's a video store at all. And two, that like someone's in trouble for not rewinding a tape.
Exactly.
And then also the recycling argument, which was like back in the day, if you lived through that era, you had to have at least 50 conversations about how to recycle, how it all works, where it goes, what's going on. It was like a whole year of people only talking about recycling.
Well, I guess she has some I don't know what you would call it, but I mean she has some decency about her. She cared about stuff like that, you know what I mean?
yeah the uniting factor behind all of this, minus the last one, is that like these transgressions were real. These slights were real. Like her daughter got stood up by a jerk, who found like a better looking girl. And that's, you know what I mean? Like that was
Tracy
a real
Lords, my
transgression.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, Tracy Lords or Ricky Lake, you can't really fault the guy for his choice in that respect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like she does not see herself as a bad person.
Right.
She
Yeah.
sees
She's
herself as
doing
a
the right thing.
moral
Yeah.
and just person.
Yeah.
Right. And she proves it in the weirdest, she proves all of it beautifully in the court scene.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you want to kill these fucking idiots? And everybody's like, good point. It's a fine point.
There's a lot of people who take the stand during this who we've met in different parts of the film, and it's fun to see them. Obviously, getting Dottie Hinkle heated on the stand and getting her to curse.
My God, what a scene.
Yeah.
What an exchange.
Masterful exchange between them. But the stoner girl is
Let
a
the
great
record
one too.
show I am merely standing here.
Oh yeah.
It's
She
so
did.
good.
She did good though. I like that. She really did good that part. Just like how she was, like getting them flustered. You know what I'm saying? Getting the yeah. She killed it. And then the part where the dude was looking at her panties.
Oh, we ready to
She-
talk about what's our good friend Mr. Pickles?
Yeah.
There's some weird funny
Marvin
sex stuff
Pickles.
in this film. Marvin Pickles.
Marvin Pickles. Who sees her through a glory hole is how he witnesses that she commits the murder.
Correct.
That he's watched it through a glory
I forgot
hole,
about that part.
Wow. And again, like
And then
if you watch this as a kid, you have no idea what that
Yeah.
And
is.
then
You
he's
don't- I had
writing
no
like
idea.
weird sexual graffiti
Yes.
Yeah.
on the wall about the jurors when they
Right.
are like, you have to come and testify. And he's like, oh,
Do
he's
I
in the
have
middle
to?
of putting graffiti on the wall. He's a wild character, maybe one of my faves.
Oh God.
He's
And
an
then
incredible character.
the way she turns him, it's just like, look, I mean, if I had seen this when you saw it for the first time, if I had seen it as a kid, that scene would have absolutely been like burned into my mind because it was
Oh,
just
it was like it's probably that's probably the most memorable part of the whole movie for me is that scene because I had never seen it like that before. You know what I mean? And I was probably just like a little kid going, damn, like. Well, I remember probably like thinking that she was fine and sexy and everything at that point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's like just growing up, that was always the scene. Like I would rewind it.
yeah.
The unforgettable scene for me was his friend getting caught masturbating by
Oh yeah.
the entire family, minus the woman who was trying to kill him, and then the cops.
And then the cops, yeah.
And then the cops. And he's masturbating to like, the weirdest sort of, it's not like people weren't having sex.
Yeah.
It was like a naked woman gardening at one point.
Yeah.
Naked plus size women gardening was what he was, and he was really into it.
God bless. It's a wonderful thing.
But see,
Scotty, right? Because what's his Chip runs in, he goes, "Hey, Scotty."
Yeah. And Scotty's
I didn't even know what he was doing.
Scotty's tastes are wild because that he's watching that very weird film, but also like he's carting around, pornography over at his friend's house. He's bringing magazines, and it's like Betty Page pinups. Like it's not
old.
It's not Playboy. It's not Penthouse. It's not Hustler.
Yeah.
It's not like anything like that. It is like pinups from the war.
Yeah.
What? But the sexual content, it totally makes sense again that scene in the courtroom burns an image. And obviously, it's a reference to Basic Instinct and Sharon Stone showing her legs. But like,
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
no, yeah, it's like it's like when you see it as a young person and like it was sort of like in the ether that this was something that could happen in. So John Waters is finding his little places to stick this stuff into. But I will say this, like I looked it up because I was curious, when this movie came out, Kathleen Turner was 40 years old.
Wow.
So I can say confidently, and as a man in his 40s, I'm like, I am attracted to Kathleen Turner in this movie. I am attracted to Serial Mom.
100%.
I have to say it. She was
a
delight.
I was then too.
Her voice too. I liked her raspy voice too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. Kathleen Turner was a very sexy figure. And in this film, within all its camp and all its comedy, I think because of the sexual stuff, it sort of becomes like a, hey, actually, like this is something. This and so I relate to Marvin Pickles. I relate to Marvin Pickles in that moment. I feel confident. I feel comfortable sharing that with you guys. In that moment, I do feel like I was there.
Listen, Marvin Pickles had some good ideas. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Good ideas.
One of them was scrawling. I really want to remember what he scrawled on the wall.
Oh,
It's
God,
something about like licking jurors or something like like Marvin Pickles licks jurors or something. It's really weird.
I don't remember.
I can maybe see if I can find it in the course of this.
Okay.
But
All good.
And then
He's
the
an
Suzanne
interesting
Summers
weird
cameo
man.
was good.
Yes. I was going to bring that up as well. Is that like what an incredible cameo. And for
Yeah.
like in that world, she's like the biggest star on the planet. Everyone there is losing their minds that she's in the courtroom. And they
The
can't even
judge-
get like evidence put in. Yeah, they can't even put evidence in.
the
'Cause
judge is like,
yeah, whatever.
the judge is like, I loved you with Three's
Yeah.
Company.
Was
It's like,
she like a big deal at that time?
no, like
No, she had long
she
lost the
she
luster.
was
Yeah.
she was known at that time, having had done Three's Company in the 80s, being a sitcom ensemble cast star. And then what she was known for in the 90s was infomercials for the Thigh Master,
It's true.
for
Oh, really?
exercise gear. If you saw her, she was doing exercise stuff. So the choice of Suzanne Summers for this is hysterical because they pick
It really
somebody
is.
who is just like she's not a star. She's not relevant. She's not bankable in this stuff. She's just another ridiculous choice
I want
made by this
her
ridiculous
and
movie.
Awesome.
I want the her and Priestley vehicle to be real, like a movie about Serial Mom
Yeah.
based on that universe would be awesome.
Jason Priestley could yes, right, when Chip gets assaulted at the courtroom and has to be like, well, what if you basically like say, have you sold life rights yet? Have you made your TV or print? Like,
Yeah, he punched him in the face. He's like, "Hey, man, have you sold your rights yet?"
Yeah, it's like, are you
After being punched in the face?
have you cashed in on this yet? Yeah, it's you should really think about doing that. I mean, there's so much that happens in this, and there's so many lively, wonderful characters we meet. Marvin Pickles obviously is a favorite, but I think my favorite characters in this film are the trash collectors. I think that those two, Gus and Sloppy, and Sloppy are you don't realize like how well, like some of the things that are written in this film, it's like they're handled in sort of like absurd ways, and you go fine. But they planted the seed for those two guys being on her side from jump. From the moment she waves at them out the window in the very beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And then later when they commiserate and they're like, I wish somebody would kill her for not recycling. Kill that litter bug. Like they were straight up with her. And she's handing them.
They also aid and abet her as a criminal.
That's what I'm saying. At the end,
Like
they
go
align
and like
with her.
steal garbage from a cop.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, check it out. Like,
and what garbage they steal.
Dicks.
What garbage they steal. They steal some pretty
his
pretty
exit, the
stuff.
cop's exit from the film. The cop's exit from the film is excellent. He walks up and he goes, I'm a married man. Like, you've ruined my life. like, yes. I love the slow, that's part of this thing I love in the courtroom scene where there's a slow turning of the audience and the jurors that you watch as they're all like won over by her and they're like, you know what? Is it so bad that she killed like 8 people? Does it matter? 7 people?
The church scene, which again, you know, we've talked about a bit, but from my understanding of reading this, there was reading about this. It was the hardest location for them to find, is a church that would let them shoot within it. Most of this film is shot in Baltimore, which is John Waters. That's his hometown. That's where he operates out. He does nearly everything in Baltimore, but they had to go to the suburbs to find a church to do that scene in. And then, you know, the scene itself is not like altogether all that remarkable. Like she shows up, everyone knows she's, you know, been accused, and the police are that hysterical, you know, line of cop cars that have followed them to the church.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Just comically, they're waiting outside, waiting for confirmation of some DNA evidence, I guess, before they can go in. And the thing that happens that disrupts everything is that she sneezes on a baby.
Oh yeah.
And everyone loses their minds immediately.
They lose their mind.
Mass hysteria.
That's a good scene too. That I forgot about. That's a good scene too.
Do you remember what the preacher is saying?
I don't remember what the preachers say. No, because I'm too busy focused on what everyone's
It's
looking at.
completely unhinged.
Really?
He
Okay,
basically is like, he basically walks up to the podium and he goes, now seems like a really good time to come out in favor of capital punishment.
He does.
Jesus never says anything directly to admonish capital punishment, and everybody's looking around like, yeah, no, he's right. It's so weird. What a weird thing to have him say. There was a lot of weird opposition to this film too. The people who the music from Annie, you gotta license that stuff, even if it's in the film. You gotta license it.
Yeah.
And they overcharged because they didn't want Annie involved with this. And the movie theater, the movie company was like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, they quoted a rate of something, but then the movie like 60 grand to use that song from Tomorrow from Annie,
$60,000
in there, and they were like, we will,
and they just did it, sure,
and they used it in the most absurd kill of the entire movie. Leg of Lamb, tomorrow,
yeah.
They also the filming, the people that made the film had to like fight the movie house, the production studio, to get it to come out at all, because the studio saw it and were like, no.
Wow.
Fucking absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not putting this out. And they held a screening and it went really poorly. And John Waters was like, you planted a bunch of like weird conservatives in the audience to kill my movie. And went to a columnist. This was obviously 1994 as fuck. Went to I think maybe an LA Times columnist or something. A friend of his, and they wrote an article condemning the production company for killing the movie.
Oh, wow.
And the production company backed off. And they backed off, which today would just never happen.
Never happen.
Was it in theaters?
It had a theatrical run.
Yeah,
it had a theatrical run. It did not make money. I think it was like a $13 million budget, and it made a little less than $8 million in the box office. But like so much of John Waters' stuff, it kind of earned that sort of cult classic.
Yeah.
And then it became
and people bought movies,
but
back
on
then,
DVD, you buy it on
buy
it on VHS, buy it, and then later on DVD. So like, it definitely had that.
My sister managed a video store, so like I hung out with video store nerds a lot, and that movie was a consistent favorite and one that they sold a lot of copies of, because they'd be like,
wow,
you should go get this. It's an excellent film.
What I'm wondering is, before we let you go, I wanted to get a sense of, obviously this is a film that you saw as a child and had experience with. What did you take away from this now as an adult watching it? And do you like it more now than you did then?
I like it more now just because I understand a lot of it. Like I said, even like as a child, I didn't understand the masturbation scene. You know what I'm saying? I knew he was looking at, naked women, but I didn't understand what he was doing. You know what I mean? But so there's a lot of things that I catch now that I didn't, as a kid. And then just being an adult and, like even appreciating like Kathleen Turner now, you know what I'm saying, as an adult, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, just as a kid, it's just a movie you just kind of like you think you're cool because you get to watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why was we watching the movie, as 9 and 10 years old, right? But as an adult, I kind of understand like a lot of the humor and the craziness of it, and I can appreciate it more. You know what I mean?
I feel similarly, and to be honest with you, I'd like it just as much now as I did then. I think it's a really fun, weird film. Not oppressively weird, but super fucking weird.
I think I would have appreciated and enjoyed this if I watched it in 1994. I would have been like 15 at that point. So I would have appreciated, I would have enjoyed it. I think what I found is there was a lot of, and maybe it's because I was pretty high when I watched it both times, but I watched it and I didn't laugh so much as I said, "Oh, that's funny." I like point at it and be like, scream, like, "That's funny." Like I
Yeah.
recognized it was funny, but I wasn't actually laughing at what was happening, which
Yeah,
is
clever
weird.
campy will do that to you.
It's clever. I thought it was a very
Yeah, yeah.
clever film, and it's absurd. Absurdity was there, but like then there were some things that did make me laugh. The leg of lamb Annie scene is obviously very funny. The Marvin Pickle stuff was definitely made me laugh in terms of how absurd the opening and closing of the legs were, and the fact that yes, your eyes are drawn to that. I could see you're seeing his perspective in that moment. I don't necessarily know if I'd be going around recommending it. I wouldn't tell people not to watch it, but it's not a film I'm going to be. I'm not going to be evangelizing for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
it
it's
really
settled.
gave,
You love the film. It's good to
I
hear
didn't
that you
say
loved
that.
it.
I didn't
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah,
Jeff.
no, it sounds like you loved it.
A little bit.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, Jeff. So, Serial Mom, I think
Gary, you look like you have something to say.
I do. You're really pleased with yourself over there, aren't you? This movie was very pleased with itself too.
It was.
God, was it ever? And well, I think we can say
So wait, you didn't like it?
No, I liked Serial Mom.
That's what okay.
I didn't.
That's all I can
love
ask. I'm not
Serial
asking
Mom.
for love.
That's like
I'm not
that's
asking
the
for
tagline.
love.
No, that's the tagline. I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay,
And
as long as you include I liked it in the tagline, I can't really get mad.
The more that I think about it, the more that it seems to me that part of why I don't love it is that it's not a Cabbages movie. It's not the kind of thing that we do on this show. Like we've done camp.
Well, yeah, we got
times.
it. We've been trying to expand our horizons a little bit. I mean, we went into the drama game. It didn't work. So I thought we could go to a pitch black comedy. And I think it worked pretty good.
I mean, I think there have been a lot of like 90s black comedies that I think were more in a Cabbages vein. If we ever did Gridlocked, for example, with Tupac and Tim Roth, that is exquisite in terms of a dark.
I think that we should expand. I'm not against what you're saying. I just think we should expand a little on what a Cabbages movie is.
I mean, I think
that it doesn't have to be your version, which is so bad that everyone's kind of miserable all the time.
I take some offense to that. I think the idea is that Cabbages is always in search of the good bad movie, and
it is.
It's sort of our.
This is one of
it's
them.
Our
this
lodestar.
Is a good bad movie.
It's our lodestar, and I'm not saying this isn't a good bad movie. I would say it is a good bad movie, but I don't think it's the kind of film that we tend to do that feels like our way. And I feel like we can do a comedy, say one that even includes multiple murders in it. We can do something like that from the period, but it can be something that does feel like the kind of fare that makes sense for Cabbages.
I think there was an old Roman philosophical saying that said, if you live in the fucking wheelhouse, all you get is wheels. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think that there's a particular film that I think would match my description that sort of feels in sort of a dark comedy, but also something that maybe touched a lot more people and had a bigger cultural impact. And I think that we need to do some of that in this season. I think we do need to address some of the films that really made it into the zeitgeist. We've done some pretty niche shit.
All right.
Nightbreed is niche.
True.
Toy Soldiers is niche. Serial Mom is niche.
You can't get much more niche.
I'm saying that we can do something, maybe a film, this one that I have in mind, one of the biggest actors of the 90s starring in it. I think it'd be really good.
And it's a dark comedy.
Oh, it's dark. It's dark.
Trying to think of Denzel Washington dark comedies, but I'm not coming up with anything.
Well, we'll wait and see. It's not Denzel, but it is. But he's a star.
If it's Tom Hanks, I'm going to fight you.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.